everybody's so friendly. So it's like, only warm feelings so far. Right? Yeah, but yeah, talking about the content tonight. I'm working for Amazon Web Services for the last 4 or 5 years. Before I was a CTO of a couple of startups. Some startups were, let's say, successful, some were not so successful, some were sold, some were failed, and so on. And I also had a chance to work a lot with so-called digital native businesses, with companies who actually born in the internet, grew very fast. We're talking about like Karim, Uber. We're talking about big companies like Flixbus, like maybe you heard about it. It's like the biggest bus company in the world. And what I'm doing in AWS is actually, maybe could be described in 2 sentences. My goal is to make sure that A, customers know how to use AWS technology. They don't shoot to their foot when they're using it. And as a result of it, they're not saying AWS is dumb, like they're happy with that. They know how to use it. They kind of okay. They understand pros and cons, and they understand where not to use it. It's also an important thing, because we're not selling you anything here. We're actually building a community. Yeah, thanks again for inviting me. And what we would like to talk today a little bit is about Kubernetes. But as far as I understand, we have 2 groups here, like AWS user groups, and we have Cloud Native Foundation community, and maybe a little bit of excursus in what AWS doing in these 2 particular areas. Of course, user groups, it's a backbone of our community work. I cannot say we're doing great work, but I think we're doing work that we're proud of, about, at least. Thank my colleague Daz, who is actually, I think, the biggest promoter and builder of AWS in the last couple of years I ever met. Of course, organizers of user group. We're talking about like almost 600 user groups, 100 countries. And if you're asking our teams who are actually taking care about communities, how many members we have, they said, a lot. I was like, how much a lot? I was like, hundreds of thousands. It's like, sorry, 1 million is also hundreds of thousands. But to be honest, unfortunately, I cannot get a realistic number, and I think it's a little bit hard to get it. But when we're talking about Cloud Native Foundation, Amazon is not founding member of it, unfortunately. What we did, we actually joined about like, I think 1.5 years after the founding of the Cloud Native Foundation under Linux Foundation. But we're a platinum sponsor, and of course, with the platinum sponsorship, you are getting a little bit of voice there. And this voice actually reflected in a seat in the government board, and of course, ability of our engineers to contribute to the standardization, to the practices, and of course, to various code bases. And mainly, we are talking about actually Kubernetes, Containerd, Prometheus, CNI, and so on and so on. That's something that I would say majority of our AWS internal developers who are contributing to open source are contributing to Cloud Native. There's also big groups who are contributing to PostgreSQL, MySQL, and so on and so on. But also quite a big contributors to OpenJDK and what else? Yeah, that's probably something that's coming to my mind. Yeah. Of course, Linux itself, Linux core, right? Because Amazon Linux is also a big thing of our business, and we're trying to subsidize and sponsor it as much as possible. What we'd like to talk today is a little bit of future of Kubernetes. Yeah, sure. Now I feel like Beyonce. Is it works? Yeah. Okay. Now it feels better. So. What we would like to talk today is a future of Kubernetes from a point of view of AWS. Again, AWS is not the founder member of Kubernetes, but AWS is a big contributor. And the important part here is that we put big stake on Kubernetes. We believe in it, we drive this technology, and we support it in financially, community-wise, and so on and so on. The interesting stats is actually that 80% of our customers are using Kubernetes in production. 80. I cannot believe in this number, but I don't have any data which will question that. And about 16% of the customers are actually piloting or evaluating Kubernetes, which means that we are talking about 90+% of adoption. And we're talking about various customers. It could be small startups up to big heavyweight enterprises, telecoms, I don't know, airlines, and so on. And why they like it is actually its simplicity, right? First of all, Kubernetes is a great abstraction layer on top of whatever AWS is doing, whatever any other cloud is doing, whatever any kind of infrastructure provider or even data center is doing. And I think the simple numbers here is like 1,500 meters against 10,000 API calls of AWS SDK. To be honest, I think this number of 10,000 is slightly pessimistic. I think it's double of it from my point of view. Since you're starting to work with SDK, you realize how big it is. Yeah. Another important thing is actually consistency. And Kubernetes is the standard, right? If you're talking a lot with the customers, they're saying, hey, we're cloud agnostic, but we're using Kubernetes. It's like, okay, how's this connected? Kubernetes is our abstraction level against this underlying infrastructure, against underlying physical resources, and it makes a lot of sense. From my point of view, it's never a decision maker, actually, but that's what common belief, and that's what we see on the market. And you cannot fight against hundreds of thousands of opinions if you have your own opinion. And the important thing is extensibility here. Plugins, operators, and so on. You all know the stuff. It's something that allows you to take the core native vanilla Kubernetes and actually make your Kubernetes out of it. And that's generally what actually AWS is doing. And yeah, the whole story of Kubernetes at AWS started in 2018. So we're talking about, it's almost 8 years, 7.5 years. First of all, we started with the servers, Elastic Container Service, which is at the end Kubernetes, hosted Kubernetes. And there was a long story since then. I will not go to any detail, but I think the most interesting one is a Carpenter project. Again, I'm pretty sure you're all aware about it. It took us actually a long 3 years to kick off this Carpenter, and from my customers, actually, it takes 1 to 3 years to adopt it. Super happy about that, but of course, it takes time a little bit. Then I think in 2024. Last year, we released auto mode and hybrid nodes. I hope Daz will talk about it later. And last December 2025, on reInvent, our biggest conference, we released EKS capabilities. We also will have a couple of words about it. Yeah. But in a nutshell, actually, what's Kubernetes, how we see it at least. I know that it's probably not the most extensive view on it, but of course there is a infrastructure layer which actually compute network storage, right? Every single cloud consists of 3 components: compute, network storage, a little bit of communication in between, event-driven and so on, virtualizers and so on. Then we're talking about control plane, also etcd, control plane of EKS, and so on and so on. Then of course management tooling, and of course developer tooling. That's something from my point, the last top part of development tooling is something that we are a little bit different from what you got from vanilla Kubernetes and what you got from other cloud providers. I don't know, guys from Mountain View or other guys from Seattle, from Redmond, I'm not supposed to name them, but and maybe we will look a little bit into it. And I think a lot of our AWS work is actually put into this particular developer tooling layer, let's call it like that. Again, I'm not going to talk about control plane. I'm not going to talk about Carpenter and so on. It's, you all know about it. It's in use from last year or year before, right? So yeah, Kubernetes containers, right? Containers starting from what? From registry. And looking into registry or container registry, what we did actually recently, it's actually quite a new release. What we realized recently is about like 2 billion of containers pulled on a daily basis, 2 billions. And you know the typical size of the container, right? It's not a small image, it's not like a couple of megabytes. Sometimes it's not even a couple of hundred of megabytes, sometimes it's like gigabytes, and especially if you're running any kind of AI/ML workloads, you can have a container of like 100, 120 gigabytes. I mean, it's totally fine. But ECR, though it sounds like a very, very small infrastructure hosting, let's call it like that, it's actually quite loaded service. And I don't know too much about underlying layer, how it's implemented, but what we recently released here is we invest a lot into scanning of the images of ECR, and that's about security, and that's about vulnerability detection. So before we had Amazon Inspector, who actually can check your instances, or not instances, or containers, and check for static vulnerabilities. But what happened, pretty often, customers just deploy Kubernetes images, and they're not redeploying new versions for months, if not years. And during these months of years, nothing happens with this machine. It just works, right? Why would you redeploy it? And it's quite reasonable. And Amazon Inspector actually was not able to recognize these images. Now, actually, it can, and it actually can read through already running images, pull it back, understand that, okay, this image is running somewhere in production, pull it back and recognize, oh, but this image has, I don't know, new vulnerability of OpenSSH. Like something that allows you to be informed about your Kubernetes potential issues on a real time or on a runtime, not only on a moment when you push this image to the registry, whatever registry you're actually using here. Like that's quite new. It's actually available since December 2025. Another thing that, of course, we have a big customers, like, I don't know, think about JetBrains, right? JetBrains is doing about like 12,000 builds a week. 12,000 builds requires like, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of container pools. And of course, everybody would like to have it a little bit more optimized, faster, and nobody want to pay for traffic, right? You know, the problem of clouds, traffic. You pay for traffic, and what we're doing is actually we released some kind of cache for ECR, which allows you actually to have it locally within your environment where you don't pull for traffic, don't pay for traffic, and keep it up to date with upstream, whatever you're using as an upstream here, I don't know, Docker Hub, GitHub container registry, or whatever works for you. Like, again, not the rocket science, but sounds a little, people asking for it, right? It was a pain. Right. Cool. Yeah. Who was ever worked at Yandex here? Okay, nobody. Good. I'm officially their competitor, right? Or not? I don't know. But we're working with Yandex. Yandex is our customer, and while working with Yandex, you realized one interesting thing. Yandex is a well-known company in this part of the world. They're kind of technologically advanced, everything fine. But once you started to work with them, you realized one big blocker for whatever service adoption you are doing with them, they're IPv6 first. And if you're talking to them, so like, oh, is the service support IPv6? Said, I am not sure. Oh, okay, write it off. We're not using it. It's like, too late, right? And that's how actually the interesting part about Kubernetes and actually ECR as well, actually, there was no support for normal IPv6 until recently. So what we're doing is first of all, we're able to pull images actually and from IP and container images from IPv6 nodes. We also increased a little bit, let's say to 100K number of images per repository. It was a limit before. And we also introduced some kind of, I would call it hack, but we introduced immutability exceptions for images. Usually when you push image, right, you know that it's immutable, and that's the beauty of it, right? So nobody will change it. If you need some updates, you push another version, and then your containers, your orchestrator will pull it out. But we actually introduced some kind of virtual tag, which is called latest or similar. You can actually define it yourself, which allows you to have some kind of dynamic, you know, like you remember, like it was you downloading something from Linux kernel and it was always latest. It's similar thing. Surprisingly, it took like 8 years to actually implement it. Yeah. And of course, now we increased number of images to 100,000, and of course it takes space, and majority of these images are not used in reality. They were not frequently used. You can actually archive them and don't pay for the storage. Again, if you remember, for ECR or similar container storages, you pay for storage, right? So you have some kind of tiered storage here. Like again, not the rocket science, but something that customers are asking about. And to be honest, you know, we always say that 90% or 80% of our features coming from a customer feedback, and you know, customers usually not asking for engines, they're asking for faster horses. Yep. Yeah, signature, right? Signing before you are supposed to actually sign your images and make sure that they are consistent with your own tools. Now it's also embedded into ECR, like a little bit simplifying your CI/CD pipelines. It's fully automated. It's also auditable, so you can see who signed what, why, and which keys was used for signatures and so on. Look, for regulated workloads, I'm not sure how much it's required in Uzbekistan, but for any kind of regulated workloads I'm dealing with, is actually a big thing, because you don't need to reinvent the small wheel. Also available since December, I think generally available. Yeah. Talking about like tens of thousands, millions of Kubernetes clusters, let's look into it. So we did a couple of improvements. First of all, it's on demand. That's actually we're going to this top level when you're talking about engineering tools or development tools or monitoring tools. The latest updates coming from, again, reInvent of December 2025 is on-demand insights refresh. That's something that allows you, so literally looking into your Kubernetes clusters, and I had a customers who getting like about 200, 300, 400 clusters within one AWS accounts. And from my point of view, it's a little bit too much, but you know, they have their reasons. And it's simply impossible to monitor, okay, which version we're running, which is compatibilities, incompatibilities. So on-demand insights refresh is actually getting snapshot of your all clusters and building small report about, okay, this thing is supposed to be upgraded, otherwise in 3 months you will be outside of maintenance window. And once you're outside of maintenance window, you have two options: not receive any support, or actually pay for extra support, and nobody likes to pay extra, right? Like, I totally on this side. There is also managed group strategies. I will not dive deep into details. I think it's a little bit too much for this particular short talk. And Kubernetes version support accelerations. We actually managed it finally. Again, it took us like 5-7 years to make sure that every new major, or not major, but second after major version of Kubernetes is actually available on EKS, on AWS in less than 45 days after its official release. Which also means that we don't end up in a situation where you guys would like to upgrade to the newest version, but it's not available on EKS or Amazon Kubernetes. By the way, EKS is just a service to run open source, fully available for you Kubernetes distribution. If you like, to run it yourself, download it, deploy it to whatever you want in your data center, in your Raspberry Pi, big Raspberry Pi, and so on and so on. Yeah, I actually was running Kubernetes on Raspberry Pi, never do it again, believe me. Cool. And that's actually how it looks. It actually tells you, okay, look, we have actually something which using deprecated APIs on version 126. 126, if I'm not mistaken, is about like, I don't know, half a year ago already was kind of obsolete and so on and so on. And you got this dashboard, and it's up to you what to do with this dashboard, right? And the beauty of it is that it's actually running not only across particular selected clusters, it's running cross-account, cross-region. And I had a customer, you all know this company, big taxi company in your region, and these guys running hundreds of Kubernetes clusters, and they hated upgrading it because they said, okay, guys, we don't know where to upgrade and so on. And I subscribed to them for preview of this feature. They loved it. I said, okay, finally we understand that for next 3 months, our DevOps team will do nothing except of upgrading Kubernetes. I'm not sure if it's a good news, but it's for their business side, but you know, that's reality. At least they can estimate amount of work, because they usually the question, hey guys, how hard for you to upgrade to the next level? Otherwise, you know, you are a little bit behind. So we have no clue. Yeah. Now it's way easy. And that's actually how it looks like. It's actually, apart from insights, the global dashboard. Global dashboard is not your monitoring dashboard. It's not replacing your, I don't know, CloudWatch or whatever, Prometheus or whatever you're using. It's rather a very, let's say, executive level view of where you stand with your Kubernetes fleet, not with your particular clusters and so on. And if any of you ever used quite a new feature for RDS dashboards, where in case if you have like hundreds or even thousands of databases or database clusters, it's actually quite handy. You feel completely similar experience, and you can manage your Kubernetes at a fleet level, not on a level of particular clusters. So cluster is already a big entity from my point of view. Cool. And of course, you can dive deeper cluster observability. Again, it's a little bit of more operational here already. It's not something that you usually get it actually from CloudWatch or similar monitoring tools, but you need to know what you're looking for. Here is a little bit other way around. When you say, okay, I have no clue what's happening with my cluster, tell me what's happening. And my favorite feature is actually how do they call it? Top talkers. The most chatty person, that's probably me. But the most chatty client is actually can recognize which pods talking to which particular services, where the APIs are overused, and so on and so on, and it's operational statistics which could highlight any kind of issues that you potentially could have within whatever, a little bit of higher traffic and so on. And of course, network observability, you know, VPC flow logs. If you're using AWS, you understand the value of it. Literally, you understand where your traffic going from to and so on. The problem here is that usually with Kubernetes or EKS, you know that, okay, it's going from here to Kubernetes. So like, great. Like, how does it help me? And usually, like, in a modern setup, what you have one Kubernetes cluster, let's say, in production, and you have like dozens of different services. Okay, let's say it's an order service, it's some kind of delivery service, this kind of analytics service. And it's like, and who the hell is consuming actually traffic, and who the hell is consuming our database? You have no clue in this particular case. Now, actually, you can enable some kind of traffic flow style visualization on Kubernetes up to the level of pods. You know that pods probably not the most interesting part, but I think namespaces, right? It's called namespaces. On Kubernetes, you can, on the namespace level, say, hey, this namespace talking to, I don't know, DynamoDB too much. And that's where the majority, let's say, of your traffic going on, majority of your load, and you see that this guy is actually creating the majority of load or majority of cost on your DynamoDB, RDS, or whatever you are using as your back office. S3 is also quite interesting thing, because theoretically, you're not supposed to pay for S3 here, but majority of customers literally paying thousands of dollars per month just because they overlooked it. That's generally how it looks. It's actually great visualization. I'm a little bit not visible here, but you know, this kind of, it's like a Wikipedia. You're going into it, you're looking and say, okay, that's interesting. You're clicking on next one, and you end up with something that you never were looking into it. Like, you know, like how hamsters are actually reproducing. I don't know how I know that. And of course, AI, agentic AI, MCP, and so on. Who knows what is MCP? Okay. Yeah, I see you already. You already got hurt by the trend. Yeah, I also heard by the trends, unfortunately. What customers are usually saying, okay, it's great to have MCP, and we have some AWS SDK replication of MCP, but they said, okay, I need to host it, I need to monitor it, and another piece of software that somehow, like, I don't want to bring anything to my stack, just to have this kind of nice, let's call it smart proxy, right, in this particular case, right? So what we did actually, particularly for Kubernetes and for, okay, let's talk about Kubernetes for now. We made actually a hosted MCP version for you, so you can connect with, I don't know, Kiro, Amazon Q developer, you can connect your Cloud Code, whatever you prefer, which is MCP compatible. I'm actually using Cloud Code with majority of these things, and all this MCP standard allows me to bring actually all Kiro MCPs, AWS MCPs, without even asking of any kind of compatibility here. And what it can do is actually pulling up your configuration, and every time you're doing any kind of research, what the hell is going on with your particular cluster, is already having context about your configuration, already pulling a little bit of your latest log data from CloudWatch, understand a little bit of tracing data from your X-ray and whatever, and able to summarize it together. At least it's smart enough to, let's say, middle complexity cases, to highlight what's going wrong, and actually to predict potential problems, like which will happen within, or theoretically will happen. By the way, we're talking about this type of agent development. I think there is also a frontier agent called DevOps agent, which was released a couple of months ago, again on a reInvent, which actually also supporting the whole thing, and actually it's internally working through this particular MCP. It's kind of a DevOps guy who's living in your AWS environment and constantly watching what's happening around, monitoring you, and like one of our colleagues did, he actually made some intentional harm to the environment, and this guy actually found it out and said, what the hell, why you did it? Like, okay, oh, whoa. And that's actually quite a cool story, I think, when, you know, the robot can call you out back. Like, and of course, security topics here is fully AWS, you know, in a nutshell somewhere in every single topic that we are talking about. AWS IAM security, signature verifications, and so on is there. Yeah. That's generally what it can do. Root code analysis is the most interesting, and once you see it first time, like on a real project, you was like, well, damn, that's interesting. Like, I mentioned actually RDS fleet management tools. That's actually what's happening right now. Now we have a fleet management for Kubernetes. That's actually a real screenshot. I'm to some degree real. I don't know how much marketing hide here, but that's how you can visualize the state of your cluster and fleet of clusters, which actually changing completely the way how you operate. I saw it a year ago with databases. We did more or less similar interface for that, and it was completely mind-blowing. I had a customer who running 920 database clusters. It's about like 4,000 various type of instances, plus serverless instances for databases for RDS, MySQL, Aurora guys. Guess how many people running the whole fleet of almost 1,000 databases? and one of them is manager. She said, I forgot when last time I logged into console to do anything here. So effectively, the work is done by 3 people and 1 person saving their ass from organizational stuff. Like, that's actually something that I haven't seen it in reality yet with the customers, but I believe the impact will be similar. You will have a couple of people who will run thousands of clusters like that using tools like this. Of course, it's not vanilla Kubernetes. It's a little bit of AWS-specific tooling around it, but I'm pretty sure it could be connected with on-premise Kubernetes and so on. We just need to look into it. Yeah. And the last thing, FinOps, right? When you're running 10 different teams, deploying to your particular Kubernetes cluster, and then you do what? FinOps. Why? Because it's cool, right? Linux Foundation saying FinOps is a great thing and make your engineers responsible for your cost. Great idea, but then you got into Kubernetes. And in Kubernetes, like, okay, Kubernetes is 95% of our cost. Is like, great. And to which team we're supposed to attribute, to which cost center we're supposed to attribute it, and then you're showing it to your financial team, and they're looking at it like, okay, that's useless, right? If we cannot attribute 95% of cases and put it into generic bucket of costs, that doesn't make any sense. FinOps actually losing any idea for them. And that's actually what's possible right now. Before there was a kube cost, which actually helped it. I think we actually built something on top of kube costs in collaboration with them, and it's actually AWS-sponsored project. And now you can attribute particular cost in your cost records to particular pods and this, or particular tags on these pods, and the tags and pods could be, of course, attributed to particular team, project, whatever attribution metric you have. I want to sell it to, to finance people, but they will not get it. At least once they will see results, they will love it, I'm pretty sure. And cross-account pod identity. Typical scenario when you have a situation where you have analytic data or data lake somewhere in completely different account, and what you would like to do, you would like to run, I don't know, Spark or whatever, machine learning on top of your Kubernetes in your particular cluster. And what you need to do, you need actually to allow not the whole cluster, but the group of pods to go to completely different account, fetch the data, I don't know, maybe perform some operations there or federate some operations and bring it back. Before it was not possible. The only thing you can allow to do, you can say, hey, I would like this particular cluster to go to, I don't know, analytical team AWS account and do whatever you want there. But in your cluster, you have usually 10, 12 different teams. Now you actually can limit the success to particular group of pods or on the pod level at the end. And then, of course, it works through classical AWS, EIM, and so on and so on. Okay, maybe I'll speed up a little bit. Cluster deletion protection. Whoever deleted cluster in production accidentally because forgot to change one flag in your Terraform. Yeah, me. Since then, I'm trying not to work with Kubernetes, to be honest. I got this child trauma after that. Now, actually, you can put some kind of checkbox to prevent this particular thing, especially it happens pretty often with CDK or Terraform deployments. EKS add-ons, and it's not fundamentally new. It's just somehow like we're just adopted it way better. Before it was some kind of foreigners in our ecosystem. Now these guys are actually becoming more like cousins and maybe step brothers and step sisters here. Again, kubectl is our favorite. Datadog, New Relic, all these guys who actually are Kubernetes native, Kubernetes friendly, who are actually contributing a lot to Kubernetes. Thanks a lot for them. To that are now way easy integratable with EKS through marketplace, through add-ons, concept, and so on and so on. But to be honest, it's not something like significantly new. You're all probably using it a little bit. That's probably, yeah, Backing up Kubernetes. Every first customer coming asking how to back up Kubernetes properly. The answer is don't. Just don't back up your Kubernetes, back up your infrastructure as code. In reality, is very naive approach from my point of view again. Like, so I'm the one who is promoting it a lot. And of course, improved capabilities for backing up, restoring capabilities, overseeing this backup, incremental backups. That's something that was not there before. And it's actually a good example of how Kubernetes teams actually were working very close to our classical EC2 teams, which own in EBS, EC2, or similar services. I think it's second after Carpenter in terms of importance and impact. Like, I think that from this slide, I would probably highlight only the interesting part is instant clones, where you can actually create a clone of your EBCs managed under Kubernetes, EBS managed under Kubernetes in a sub-second, millisecond. Again, it's snapshotting mechanism, which exists for years, but before it was not available for Kubernetes. And again, disaster recovery is a great thing for that. And of course, your, like, I don't know, let's create developer environment which is replicating exactly production environment with all data, with all logs and so on, and just not to touch production. Like, that's typical use case scenario. Yeah, amazing selection of scholars from my point of view. So we're running EKS in all our AWS regions, in which is 38, if I can read it. We're talking about 118, 120 availability zones, if I'm not mistaken. Daz recently told me how many of them. It's everywhere, like literally everywhere. And of course, customers are actually running Kubernetes anywhere on their on-premises. They just don't tell us, and without them telling us, we don't know about it. So, and we're talking about like starting from your local EKS distro up to somewhere fully managed. And of course, what you see here is a responsibility who takes care about which layer of it. Shared responsibility model, everybody talking about it. I think you're all aware about it. Yeah, and that in mind, local hero coming back from Munich.
Thank you. A bit of a sound check. Ilar, how can you hear me? Great. Okay. So you guys should know me. I am Daz Akbarov. I work at Amazon as a solutions architect. I will just walk to this side and hopefully camera will capture me as well. And I am solutions architect and my role is pretty much technical. However, I am not Kubernetes guy. I am basically a huge fan of ECS, so sorry. But anyway, I'm going to cover a bunch of Kubernetes updates as well. And Vadym told you that you can run Kubernetes like everywhere, and that's true. And a couple of years ago, we announced and released EKS Anywhere, which was our distro of EKS, which you can run on-prem. And in 2024, we announced EKS Hybrid Nodes, which is quite a cute feature which allows you to run your Kubernetes control plane in our cloud and eventually move your data plane out of the cloud. So you can basically run your data plane everywhere, on-prem, in other cloud, wherever you can find any cheap compute. And we have been working on this feature for 2025 whole year, and we announced a bunch of improvements. What kind of improvements do we have for this mode of EKS for now? They are listed here. So this. Now we support Bottle Rocket and Cilium, which is good. But the most, I would say, impactful update is that now we can provide you configuration insights because, guys, it is challenging to support Kubernetes cluster, since all of you are maybe DevOps engineers or Kubernetes administrators. And now we can provide a bunch of insights for your hybrid nodes as well. What else? We have one more very cool feature for EKS called Auto Mode. And raise your hand if you have been working with Automate. Really, no one? No one? Okay. Raise your hand if you do know what is Automate. Really? Okay. It is one more cool feature. Huh? Not only. So I will show you this slide. Basically, Automate is your autopilot for Kubernetes. So you can run your Kubernetes cluster without any additional work on configuring and maintaining your cluster. So how your usual EKS cluster look like? It is something like that. So you have your EKS cluster, but control plane is not like living somewhere in the vacuum. It lives in EKS service account, which means that we host your control plane also in AWS account. But all your data plane should live in your customer account. So basically, it means that you have your data plane here, worker nodes, and a bunch of sidecars with tooling for Kubernetes, which has been deployed, like Carpenter, kubeproxy, CNI, Argo CD, whatever. But with Automate, yeah, and this helper stuff as well. With Automate, we are in charge of maintaining and configuring a lot of controllers, like for sidecars, like for load balancer, for instance, or driver for S3, and a bunch of other stuff. And only the worker nodes are living in your account, and even the worker nodes, we are responsible for maintaining them and keeping them alive and healthy. So it is really cute. It is a really cool feature, and I encourage you to give it a try. All right, I will move to the updates for EKS Automate. And the first one, I think that it is not very interesting to you. It is compatibility with FIPS, GovCloud, and local zone support. Maybe local zone support might be quite interesting for you because you might be interested in moving your compute closer to your customers. But anyway, let's move on. So now our EKS Automate is able to spin up your new nodes and new pods very fast, since we enabled support of SOCI, which is basically lazy loading for your containers. Let's move on. Static capacity provisioning, which means that now you are able to block, for instance, types of instances which are very specific purpose built, like instances with GPUs for machine learning, and then you can use them in EKS Automate as well. And advanced networking options, you may pay attention that we've been working on networking for Kubernetes clusters in our cloud like a lot. We really know that it is a pain in your butt, and yeah, we have to streamline this, and we've been working on that, and we will be iterating on that as well. And what else? All right, with EKS, it is really easy to spin up EKS cluster and a bunch of nodes. However, it's not enough. And that's why I am a huge fan of ECS, since you can start your service like in, if not in minutes, but in tens of minutes. With EKS, you have to spin up your cluster, and then you have to configure it. Like you have to have a bunch of sidecars with a lot of tooling, which is installed and configured and then maintained. And what we have been doing is we try to offload this stuff. We are like remaining in our job to offload this heavy lifting, all these jobs to ourselves. And we listened to feedbacks from our customers, and we found out that Argo CD is becoming like kind of standard in our industry. So we decided that it is right time to release managed Argo CD. And what kind of features do we have? Basically, you can just run Argo CD and GitOps in your EKS cluster, and all this stuff will be managed by us. And we have native integration with Secrets Manager, which is huge, because if you want to integrate your Argo CD with some secrets vault, it is also challenging. Okay, What else? I think that we are pretty much done here. Let's move on. We have 2 more open source tools which are supported by EKS in native mode, so you can use managed KRO, which stands for Kubernetes Resources Orchestrator, if I'm not mistaken, and ACK, which is controller for Kubernetes for Amazon resources. And what we've been observing is that a lot of our customers are provisioning AWS resources not with Terraform, but they prefer to use ACK, so we decided that it might be a good move. Yeah, so that's how you can use that. Sorry, I'm in a bit of rush. All right. I think that we will skip that as well. So what is our vision for Kubernetes? You might know that we have been talking about EKS here, which is our implementation of Kubernetes, and it is our version, which runs in AWS. But we are contributing in Kubernetes and vanilla Kubernetes as well, and a lot of these features which are not specific to our cloud, which might have kind of generic implementation, will eventually be merged and will appear in vanilla Kubernetes. And I think that it might be also relevant for the DevOps guys who are responsible for managing Kubernetes clusters here on-prem. Okay, and I think that we are pretty much done with the boring part of this presentation, and we are going to the rock part. And what kind of stuff do you run in your Kubernetes clusters? You can just tell me. Web applications. What else? Static websites. Very good. Databases? Someone? Yes. Okay. Kafka. Great. In Amazon, we have a lot of customers who run what we call ultra-scale Kubernetes clusters. Like usually you have Kubernetes clusters with tens, hundreds of nodes. But some of our customers, they run thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands nodes. And how can we do that without having performance degradation? Let's find out. What kind of workloads can we run on these types of huge clusters? Usually it is AI and ML, because training of large language models, it requires a lot of resources, a lot of compute, and a lot of GPUs. So basically, Kubernetes is becoming a standard for running such workloads. In opposite to Slurm, which was a standard for that, and it's becoming less popular. It is our observation. Okay. And we appreciate this company called Gartner, which do a lot of analytics for us and for all the market. And they said that by 2028, 95% of new AI ML related workloads will be running in Kubernetes. In opposite, for the last year, it was 30%. That means that Kubernetes adoption is skyrocketing due to AI and ML, because models are becoming more and more, are becoming bigger and bigger. They for now have hundreds of billions of parameters, even not trillions. And that means that we need to adapt EKS as an implementation of Kubernetes to be able to run such a huge workloads. And now we have a new feature called Amazon EKS ultra scale clusters, sorry. And these clusters are able to scale beyond 100,000 of nodes. That means that we can fit 800 of thousands of NVIDIA GPUs to one cluster and enables such huge customers as Anthropic or any other LLM-related guys to train their models using this amount of NVIDIA GPUs, or even more, not more, but exact 1.6 million of AWS Trainium accelerators. Is it impressive? Yep. Hope so. Okay, what we have done to benchmark these types of clusters is we run ultra-scale cluster in Kubernetes in EKS, And and then we simulated these types of Gen AI workloads. So basically, we had 3 types of workloads which had different pattern of the load itself. So we had training jobs, we had fine-tuning jobs, and we had inference worker sets. All right, and what this graph shows is that now with ultra clusters, we are able to scale out and spin up new nodes which are required to run pods like with these jobs in very, very short periods of time. You can see the timeline. I hope that it is also very impressive. But what should we do to reach this type of performance? Of course, all starts with control plane. How usual control plane of Kubernetes looks like. For EKS, it is something like that. We have etcd. How many etcd should we have in smallest EKS cluster? 3. Good. Why should we do? Why we need at least 3? What else? Consensus. So yeah, etcd uses Raft consensus mechanism, this algorithm, to keep your state of your Kubernetes like in proper state. And etcd, basically, it is a key value storage which keeps state of your Kubernetes cluster in memory. And we have BoltDB, which is backing up this in-memory key value storage. Just if your storage will fail, in-memory storage, I mean, you will be able to restore it from BoltDB. And we have write-ahead log for exactly the same purpose. Is it scalable enough? It is scalable if you want to run like thousands of nodes. But if you want to scale out up to hundreds of thousands of nodes, eventually it becomes like not scalable enough. And what we have done with EKS internally is we upgraded etcd, and let's start with in-memory database. Basically, we removed BoltDB. And we decided to use only in-memory, since it is very unlikely that EKS fails. And if it fails, we will be able to restore it from the snapshot of the memory. We have implemented partitioned key space, and that allows us to group and compact very hot resources into the one namespace or to the similar workspaces based on the pattern of usage of these nodes. And then we are able to spin up new nodes for really hot resources very fast. And consensus is also offloaded, and I think that it is the most impressive part of this upgrade, and that means that we are not using Raft algorithm anymore, and we offloaded it to our implementation that I will show you later. And here is the new architecture of EKS control plane, like etcd, for ultra clusters. Basically, now, instead of Raft algorithm, we have multi-IZ transactional journal. It is our internal stuff in AWS, which we have been using for more than 10 years, I believe. Yeah, I told you that we have removed BoltDB. Sorry, I lied. My bad. We still have it. However, we still have consensus interface, which is basically a middleware, which is allowing us to use our multi-AZ transaction journal. Because this is all this stuff is using gRPC, and it allows us to keep back compatibility with vanilla Kubernetes and previous implementations of EKS as well. What does it mean? That you can upgrade and downgrade your EKS clusters, like from ultra cluster to regular one, and back and forth. All right, and what we have done with data plane, because yeah, we have upgraded control plane, but we need some additional changes to data plane as well. So we implemented some networking like upgrades as well. Now our pods and Kubernetes clusters, they are able to use multiple network cards, which in our terms means that we can provision up to 4 hundreds gigabits per second, if I'm not mistaken. And this is critical for machine learning purposes, because you guys know that during training, our pods are interconnected by very high bandwidth channels to just to send back and forth a large amount of data sets. And we implemented concurrent downloads on unpacking operations for containers. Basically, when you pull your container, now we are able to pull containers in parallel and unpack them as well. It also helps us to spin up new nodes very fast. Moving from IP assignments to warm prefixes. Okay, I'm not sure what does it like. What kind of upgrade is it? I hope that it is some kind of performance upgrade, but sorry, I didn't make my homework well. And auto repair for accelerated compute. If your pod fails, we are able to restore it in a very fast manner too. Okay, for now, like our customers have been using millions of GPU-powered instances which are running inside of EKS clusters. And actually, this number more than doubled starting from 2024. And that's amazing, and that means that AI becomes more and more popular, and I think that in the nearest future, we will have even more amount of machines which will be running in control of Kubernetes. And how actually you can use this type of EKS clusters, because that sounds good. Hopefully it sounds even more than good. And what if you want to use this type of clusters, but you want to use them with smaller amount of machines? You are able to do that because of our very fresh announcement. It is provisioned control plane. And you can think of that as we are giving you an option to use provisioned control plane with amount of resources that you need, and you can schedule provisioning of control plane. So in EKS, by default, we have on-demand control plane, which scales out based on your load. But with that, you can just forget about any issues with scaling if you face a spike of the load. Hopefully. And that's a bunch of benefits which we are having with provision control plane. I think that we will be able to share the presentation, so you will just read it. And that's how does it work. We have standard on-demand control plane which scales out or scales in based on your load. And we have new mode, and you can change mode of your control plane in EKS back and forth, as I told you before. And if you expect to have huge spike of load, you can just change type of your control plane beforehand, and you will be able to scale like your infrastructure in advance, and your infra will not fail, which is good.
Before it was almost not possible unless you have super expensive enterprise support, special agreements a couple of months before where AWS engineers do it and actually kind of manually did for you. Now you can do this for free almost.
Yep. Yeah, it is cheap. You can check the pricing. So how can you change the mode of your control plane? Basically, you can just create or update your existing cluster with a new flag, and that's it. And what kind of numbers do we have here? In Amazon, we really like numbers, and a bunch of numbers here. We have 3 tiers of provisioned control plane for EKS, and basically we have 3 dimensions how we measure them. For XL, we have 1,700 of concurrent API requests which could be handled, and pod scheduling rate, which is like pod per second, it is 167, and cluster database, which is one more dimension. It means like, well, what amount of space do you have to remain your EKS cluster state? Other numbers, you can observe them here, and as I told you, we will share the presentation, and you will be able to check the pricing just by clicking this button. Okay. And our mission with EKS actually is to streamline your operation with Kubernetes, and that's why we trying to rebuild our interfaces, like and our configuration for EKS, iterating over and over to make it easier. So now you can see the interface for EKS control plane configuration, and here you have new block for the scaling tier. All right, let's move on. One moment. Networking issues. We promised to share a bit of our vision on the future of Kubernetes, and I will share how we see future of EKS, and you can just try to see the trend and apply it to vanilla Kubernetes as well. And what usually our customers say is that they want to use Kubernetes in cloud, right? Yep. And they want to have Kubernetes in cloud with less amount of pain. Because managing Kubernetes cluster, it is really big work which someone has to do, and we want to offload all this stuff from you. And we have two types of customers. Usually, we have someone who are digital native. That's the way how we do call them, and these guys are companies which solve technology problems, and they are really native with any technologies. They can easily manage their clusters. They are able to write optimized code, and they usually do not screw up, but sometimes they do. And we have non-tech companies which are not able just basically have this tech department with required level of expertise, and that's fine. And we want Kubernetes to be a good fit for both types of customers. And that's why we're trying to streamline EKS operations. And the main challenges which our customers have are they don't know how to use EKS because they are not technology companies. They basically are not able to use any advanced technology. And as I told you, that's fine. And for some companies, it is a legacy. And you know that future is here, but it is not just evenly distributed. And some companies want to innovate, but they basically are not able to adopt all these innovations. But with EKS, we hopefully enabling them to at least adopt latest versions of Kubernetes in easy manner. And one more problem is that open source software is becoming more and more expensive when you're trying to scale your operations. Because basically open source is not built to run in such huge scale. And we want to fine-tune Kubernetes to enable it to run on such scale. We appreciate open standards and open source in Amazon, and we do a lot of contributions not only to Kubernetes, but in the whole cloud-native solutions such as Carpenter. I hope that you use Carpenter, all right. And we have a bunch of more tools which we have implemented and then open source, and that's our mission. I asked you what kind of workloads do you host in your Kubernetes clusters, and all these types of workloads actually they run on EKS in our cloud. So you can try to just say out loud any type of workload, and I will answer you. I will instantly respond that yes, we do have this type of workload in our cloud. And basically, we want to keep EKS compatible with any type of workload. But more than that, we want EKS to be not only compatible, but be the best choice for that. And a bit of evolution of EKS. I will remind you again that we announced EKS in preview in 2018. It was just a managed control plane, so you still had to manage your data plane somehow, and then we announced managed data plane in 2019, and we have been announcing and implementing a lot of cool stuff since that. And what are we expecting in 2026? As Vadym told you, we are focusing on developer experience, so we want our customers which are using EKS to be able to use it in the way that are used to use. Like if developers are dealing with EKS, we want these developers to be comfortable with EKS. So if we release new tools, new APIs, new SDKs in AWS, we want them to appear in EKS as fast as we can. And we even published our roadmap for container services for both of EKS and ECS, and then I will share the link as well. And here we have our priorities for these services. And these are that we want to provide optimized runtime for any types of workloads which are coming to our services at any scale. We want these services to be easily integrated with our other AWS services. That means that you guys may know that we have, for instance, S3 driver or I don't know, secrets manager driver, and we will be working on increasing this lineup of drivers, making it broader and broader. We want EKS to work with your workloads wherever they are. So you can run your data plane in AWS cloud or in any other cloud with hybrid nodes. We even want to support you if you guys want to run your EKS clusters on-prem. And we will be keeping the standard for our container services. We want to reduce the amount of pain that our platform engineers they have, and we want to simplify and streamline EKS more and more. And of course, we do not want to stop. We want to keep this flywheel of innovation to keeping it rotating, and we want to bring innovations for our customers who use EKS as fast as we can. And one more fun metric: all new versions of Kubernetes, they came to EKS like in less than 45 days for last 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, as I told you, we have published our roadmaps, and we have them in our GitHub. You can check them out, and yeah, you will have this vision. What else? These sessions of reInvent were recorded, and they are published on YouTube. So basically, you can check them out, and you will get a bunch of insights how EKS works or how to architect platforms with EKS. I really encourage you to check the latest session under the hood, Architecting Amazon EKS for Scale and Performance, which is marked as a level 400, but it is a lie. It is level 500. And if you are deep enough in Kubernetes, check it out. What else? We have a bunch of resources which might be very helpful and handy to you if you want to use EKS and latest features. And we have a QR code, but we will share. And that's it. Thank you.
You want to take questions?
Yes, I do.
Want to do network session?
Yeah, let's have a couple of questions if you do have any. Yes.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for your presentation, guys. It was fascinating. My question is about responsibility. You told that we can install EKS cluster with pre-installed Argo CD. Who is responsible for this Argo CD? AWS or IAM?
All right. We have a shared responsibility model, and it is a model which shows what kind of responsibilities do we have, what kind of responsibilities do you guys have as a customers, and where the border lies. And with Argo CD, if you use self-managed Argo CD, if you if you use them in EKS, not the managed one which we announced recently. This border lies where we are in charge of the cluster itself. Argo CD and sidecar and all this setup, it is your responsibility. If you use managed Argo CD, we install it in your cluster, we apply some configurations, and then you are responsible for using it, like for the Git part and and these parts of the deployments. However, yes, we are responsible, for instance, for integration part with secrets manager. So basically, you can expect that this integration will almost never fail.
Okay, if I someday see that Argo CD has a new release and I see exactly the feature that I want,
Yes.
Can I upgrade this Argo CD installation, or I should make support ticket or something else?
You are not able to upgrade Argo CD if it is managed Argo CD, and that we do that on your behalf in your cluster. We need to do some additional work to adapt new versions of Argo CD to our EKS, and that's why we will have this time gap between new release of new version of Argo CD and deployment of it to EKS. But yes, you can try to speed up this process. You can just try to reach out to some guys from AWS like me or Vadym, and we have the mechanism to talk to service teams and try to push new versions of Argo CD to it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Seems no. That means that we are pretty much done here. Thanks a lot. And let's have some pizza. No.
Right, so this is what we will do. We already have a pizza, but we want to close the meetup. But before this, we have one more speaker. All right, so let's do this one last short talk by Emil Garipov. He will be talking about knowledge base for DevOps, I believe.
Yeah, knowledge.
Please, thank you.
Okay, guys. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I couldn't have time to translate my presentation into English. So, is it okay for you? Okay, let's start. So, before we start, my presentation today about the knowledge bot, which I created, especially to use as a tool for myself for preparing to the certification. By the way, raise your hand whoever had a chance to pass any of certification, you maybe AWS, Kubernetes, or networking part. Okay, we have some people who didn't even pass this any certification, IT certification here, but you are lucky guys. So, yeah. So let's start. About me. So I use the AI. So can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I use the AI to generate my image logo. It's like me with the, I don't know how it's called, with the Kubernetes in my hand and with the AWS as cloud. So, and about me, I am a EPAM system engineer at EPAM. But before I joined EPAM, I had an experience with the creating the certification questions for Cisco. Maybe you have heard about the Cisco. I work as a Cisco subject matter expert for different kind of questions. And now my aim to prepare for Kubestonauts. So I just take this aim and just trying to pass 5 certifications through this year, 2026, and I tried to create a knowledge bot using the AI for self-assessment, and try to assess myself, as I said, and try to find any gaps in my knowledge and in my skills. Okay, what is the problem with how the engineers prepare for their new skills or new knowledge? So they try to read the documentation, and after the week they will just lose all their knowledge. They forgot everything. They have no any assessment. For example, when you read documentation, sometimes you can think that you have everything in your head, that you have the real understanding of the topic, but in the reality, you lose your knowledge, you forget everything after some time. And the next problem is that when you study something, you don't maybe catch the gaps in your knowledge. So this is one of the big problems when you study something new. And you have some chaotic preparation for certification, for example, CKA exams, for the AWS, and etc. And in my case, so I try to when I prepare for certifications, or I try to create my tests to assess myself, for my self-assessment manually. So I try to do it something like I try using Anki cards, if you heard about it. So to recall everything from that knowledge that you get. And the next, what I try to do is to create the automatic cycle of the knowledge, obtaining of knowledge. So this is, I use some kind of DevOps logo. It's like you upload your context, you upload your documentation to the bot, then bot will create the questions on the level of the Bloom levels, Bloom taxonomy levels. I will tell you about it a little bit later. What is it? And then it will assess your knowledge, and after that you just recall all of your getting knowledge and skills. And I'm using the Telegram bot, which was created, and the Cloud AI. So let's go to the next slide. So here is the possibilities which you can use. For example, you can upload your URL just from documentation part. You can upload the PDF. You can upload any text. And AI just take the key points from the concepts from the documentation and creates the structured notes and generates 15 or 22 from 15 and 2 till 22 test questions. So for each topic. Okay, how it's look like. So here is the bots representation. So you send the URL, example like this, and then it takes everything and it creates the test questions with the 3 levels. Level 1, basic weighted questions, level 2, and level 3. For example, we have here this assessment, example assessment, for example, Kubernetes endpoint slices, which is extracted from the link which is uploaded to the bot. And he created 5 subtopics with from 16 to 22 questions. Okay, what is the under the hood? So it gets content, bot get content, it parses all of the content, then it extracts the content and creates the questions and notes. Okay, what I was used? So I used Bloom's taxonomy, which was the creator of this taxonomy is Benjamin Bloom, and he created different levels of the education cognitive objects, which can be used to measure the educational metrics. So I used this principle in my system. So I take the 3 levels, not in the original Bloom's taxonomy level, it has 6 levels from 1 to 6. So, but I used only 3 for now. It's the beginning of this bot. And here is the, for example, here is the levels, basic level, where on the first basic level, you just need to remember all of the, for example, basic points of the concept. I don't know, what is the Kubernetes, for example? And you just need to answer on this question. The next level is the compare and configure. You need to be able to configure or compare the different, you will have the exhibit and you need to try to solve this issue in the exhibit. And next level is the expert level, is when you need to troubleshoot and diagnose of different parts of the issue. Okay, here is the 2 types of questions which the bot creates, the MCSA, single answer, and MCMA, multiple answers with multiple answers. For example, describe the purpose of the cluster IP, internal cluster access only, external load balancing, and etc. How it's how this we will have the formula of the assessment. So incorrect minus correct minus incorrect, and it's just math. Okay, and it assess which percentage of the questions we have. So here is the level 2, the question which was created by AI. This is the, for example, address. We have the level 2 applied. We have referred to we have the question referred to exhibit. For example, kubectl get endpoint slices, sorry. And the question, refer to the exhibit, what does the output indicate about the web service configuration? And you need to choose the option, post it to the bot, and it will assess here regarding the Bloom taxonomy level. So it will assess you, and moreover, you will have the feedback, the direct feedback, which looks like this. For example, this is right, partially right, wrong, and this is the example of the right question. For example, you have the feedback, which you will have the reference to exact part of the documentation. For example, you have text, and you will have the exact reference to the exact text inside the documentation, and you will have the URL. You will have the link for this documentation. So what else? Incorrect. So you will have the reference, why it's incorrect, and you can just click to the documentation, to the link, and it will redirect you to the documentation, and you can just explore everything on the documentation. And it will give you, after you passing all of this, after you're passing all of these questions, you will have the study recommendation. So where you should focus, at which level, why. So you can then retry the same topic or the different topic. And here, how's the bot assess your answers? So here is I have level 2 and level 3 for deep analysis using the AI, and level 1 just without AI, just script, which is analyzed your level, remember level. Here is the different formulas which I used in the bot. Here is the progress. So it will give overall result. For example, 78%. So it will show you where is your gap in your knowledge. And it will give you personal recommendation where you should focus at which stage. And here is the long. I don't know. It's not quite good visible, but you can see how it looks like after you pass all of these questions. Okay, here is my real scenario, which when I tried to prepare for CKA certification now, and I am using this bot for assess myself. So I have for example, it takes 5 topics for KS, K8S for Kubernetes. It assesses, it gives me my gaps, and then I will recall all the materials, for networking, for example, for airbag and networking, and then I will just reassess myself with this bot. So if we back to the team, DevOps or SRE team, so it will give you as a DevOps engineer or your team, it can give you the metrics. It will give you, for example, if you have your own documentation in your team, inside your team, you can just upload it to the bot, and it will create the question when you, which you can recall, and you can assess yourself in your according to your documentation. So I tried to, as I told you before, I had that experiences when creating the certifications, certification question for exams, and I did it manually. So when guys from Cisco asked me to do it for them, we did it manually. So we did it, we created, we took the documentation, we did it by using the Bloom's taxonomy for creating questions manually. But now this part is created by AI. AI generates everything without manual impact. So we can say that now I'm losing my, if I would work for Cisco, yeah, and I'm using my work because AI generates it's on very high level for this certification. But as I know, for now, it's still manual work for creating the certification exams. And here is cycle. You will learn, assess, fix, repeat, and this cycle will always repeat. What next? So here we have I have the Telegram bots. I have the 3 levels of the complexity, but I'm thinking about different features like a space repetition. For example, if you want to, you just need to say to the bot when you want to repeat, or you can, bot will automate this for you. For example, if you have gap in your knowledge, if you have gap in your skills, it will send you a notification in 3 days, in 1 day, or in a week, and you will repeat everything through this notification. So dashboards for teams. For example, team will have the dashboard, and maybe I'm thinking about the gamification of this part, and your team, your members of your team will have some kind of competition. And the next is the adaptive complexity, integration with the killer code cloud, generation of different practical tasks. So this is the just pipeline for how you can use this DevOps learning pipeline for the bot. Here is so if you have any questions, just raise your hand and you can ask. Yes, please.
Hello again. Microphone, no?
Oh, I can, this one.
Thank you for the presentation. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Evgeny. I'm DevOps engineer. And my question. As I know, AI could make a mistake. And imagine the situation. The bot asks me the question. I answer this question. And I am absolutely sure that my answer 100% correct. But the bot tells me that, no, you are incorrect. Okay. Can I send a feedback somehow to the bot?
I don't have this feature, unfortunately, but this is a good idea, I think. Why I talked about the references. So this is, yeah, you are absolutely right. Before, when ChatGPT came to the world, I tried to do the same thing with ChatGPT in the first time. But it hallucinated, it made mistakes, and I just leave it for the future. But a couple of months ago, when I make a decision to prepare for the Kubestronaut certifications, so I tried once again. And this is the AI for now has the huge difference between the first time implementation and its current implementation. So they have, I tried several times. I gave it a different type of documentation links. And that's why I created the prompt, the direct prompt that asks to make a reference to the documentation. So it will give I checked it several times. But I still sure that it can hallucinate. So that's why I need to maybe more people to test it. Yeah. So yeah, and yeah, it could be, it could hallucinate, and your idea is interesting to give feedback, and it will adapt its answer, and it will maybe learn on their mistakes. Yeah. Thank you.
Actually, you can use some kind of guardrails which prevent any kind of hallucination with a double.
You can use guardrails to prevent any hallucination with a double verification, and I forgot the word, how they usually call it officially in responsible AI topic, and it's literally another model who actually checking it against each other, and this model is super lightweight, cheap, and I would say not as smart and knowledgeable, but good in one particular thing. And that's what usually we see with the customers who are doing anything related to regulated medical or semi-regulated medical industries. For example, my favorite example, when you got, I don't know, tablets, and you say, okay, what is a side effect? And you open in this package and you have like 2 pages of text on 5 languages, and so what the heck I'm supposed to do with it? And then you just simply giving it to model and say, hey, I'm actually taking aspirin because I'm a little bit sick. Is there any side effects if I will take this thing? And yes, usually diarrhea is a side effect. But in reality, that's a lot of our customers are doing this proven and proof with an additional judge model. And to be honest, in AWS is very easy to do. I don't know how other model providers are solving it, but I'm pretty sure everybody should have it because the problem is there. And it doesn't really cost you double or triple of cost of models.
Great.
look into
Yeah.
it. It's usually
Yeah.
like a couple
Thank you.
of
Thank you for
couple of
feedback.
check boxes.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right. Any
Any other questions, guys?
Could you set the last slide, please? I want to make a photo. With speaker results.
Which one? Ah, this one.
Yeah. Okay, now smile
Like this. Okay, yeah, here is our Telegram channel, and here is the links to our community, and just you can connect, and we will share with you any news, any new events, and please join us. Thank you.
Right, we have one last picture that you guys should take. So we are pretty much following whatever Amazon is doing. So we really want to have your feedback. So we would really appreciate if you guys would scan the QR code that should show up.
Yeah, just let me do like this,
Can
and
you open it and maybe?
yeah, this one.
Can you maybe download it? Oh,
Yeah.
So can you?
Sorry.
Is it working?
Yeah, I will just.
Okay. All right. So I'm just checking who didn't scan. I know you guys. All right. Okay, sweet. So this is the end of our official part. All right. So we really appreciate you guys deciding to share your time today, and really grateful to have you guys. Honestly, we didn't expect to have so many of you guys today, but we still appreciate you. And please follow us. So this is the feedback form. Please leave us some feedback, or maybe kind words. That would really be appreciated as well. And we do have some pizza available for you guys. This is definitely not not a dinner, but you guys can still have some snacks and do some networking and stuff. So we will be going up there, but before we do that, I have one last announcement, all right, that I need to make. So at AWS UG, we constantly do lots of different types of meetups. So one of this is like we will have different speakers and stuff. We also do workshops. And the one last thing that we do is kind of like more grand event is the game day. It is as fun as it sounds. So please join us on Saturday. That would be Day of Babur, or depending on where you are, that would be Day of Valentine's Day. But if you decide to share that day with us, we would still appreciate you guys. So please do that. If you go to, do we have a QR code for that? No, we don't, right? So, all right. So just go to the Telegram channel, and that's basically the last event that we have available, right? So we are having it on Saturday, and the seats are limited, although we already have like roughly around 100 people already signed up. So if you still want to play in a real environment and just, try AWS console on your own, please join us. Any experience of AWS is welcome. Even if you're a student still learning, or you don't know it, or you're expert, please have us. Okay, so that's the last thing. And we need to make a photo, all right? So please, please join me up here, and we'll do we'll take a picture, and that would be the end.